Hi, Leslie here. Today I wanted to talk about something that I think catches a lot of people out when they first come online. And it's this: being a total beginner for me was actually an advantage. And I didn't realize that at the time. But when I first came online in October of 2022, I had absolutely no clue what I was doing. I had no strategy, no audience. I certainly didn't have any confidence and no big plans or expectations. I didn't even have a Facebook profile, didn't have a YouTube account, didn't have anything other than an Instagram account. And I used that for cooking recipes and for gym workouts. And then when it came to affiliate marketing, I genuinely thought an avatar was that blue character from the film, not my ideal buyer. So that tells you everything you need to know about where I was starting from. But looking back now, there was actually something quite powerful about being that inexperienced because I also had no bad habits. I wasn't overthinking every move. I wasn't analyzing algorithms or worrying about personal branding or trying to sound clever online. And I certainly wasn't obsessing over engagement rates or wondering whether my content was positioning me correctly. Honestly, I barely knew enough to overcomplicate things. I just got on with it. And I can see now that that simplicity was actually working in my favor. I think beginners often have a kind of freedom they don't fully appreciate at the time. You're not carrying years of noise in your head, and you're not weighed down by too much information. You're not constantly second guessing yourself because 10 different people online told you 10 different ways to do the same thing. You're just learning, trying, and taking action. Of course, at the time, it didn't feel positive. At the time, I felt, well, I did. I felt completely out of my depth. I'd sat there listening to people talk about funnels, pixels, traffic, and autoresponders, thinking, what on earth are these people talking about? But despite all that confusion, I still had momentum because I wasn't paralyzed by overthinking yet. Then, slowly, things started changing because I started watching more people online, joining more programs, I was consuming more content, I was listening to more opinions. And without really noticing it happening, I started making everything complicated. I suddenly felt like I needed to be everywhere: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, threads, emails, funnels, groups, lives, stories, you name it. I had to be there. And everywhere you look online, someone is telling you, you need to do this, you should be doing that. You're falling behind if you're not using this strategy. And because you're trying to succeed, you can't help but listen. At least I did. What had started out simple slowly became so heavy and overwhelming. I went from feeling hopeful and motivated to feeling overwhelmed almost every day. I was trying to keep up with content schedules that didn't suit my life. I was trying to follow systems that felt really unnatural to me. And there I was trying to sound so professional and polished instead of sounding like myself. After a while, I genuinely started thinking perhaps I just wasn't cut out for online business. And I do think many people reach that point. And it's not because they can't do it, and it's not because they've turned something simple into something exhausting. And the online world can encourage that if you're not careful. It really can. Because there's always another strategy, there's another platform, another training, and there's always another expert telling you there's something else you should be doing. And before you know it, your head is full of all these distractions. I think one of the biggest dangers online is information overload, di- disguised as productivity. You feel busy all the time, but you're not necessarily moving forward. You're just consuming more and more and more information while everything becomes less and less clear. That's exactly what happened to me. And it took me, a good 18 months before I realized what was happening and to start to strip everything back again. 18 months to stop trying to be everywhere, or to stop chasing a version of success that didn't even suit me. And it was 18 months to realize I didn't actually want a complicated business. I wanted something sustainable. In affiliate marketing, sustainable means something you can keep doing long term without burning out, getting fed up, and you're not constantly starting again, and you're not relying on luck. A sustainable affiliate marketing business usually has things like consistent leads and sales over time, simple systems you can manage daily, an audience that trusts you, content that keeps working months later, income that doesn't disappear overnight if one platform changes. For example, posting honest content on Facebook every day, you're building relationships, maybe growing an email list and promoting products you genuinely use and believe in is far more sustainable than chasing viral trends or constantly jumping between new secret methods. A lot of people build unsustainable businesses online by relying on paid ads, jumping from offer to offer, and copying hype marketers. And there's even people who are doing 12-hour workdays, using complicated funnels they barely understand, and building around trends instead of trust. Sustainable affiliate marketing is usually slower at the start. I've got to be honest about that. But it is stronger over time because it's built on consistency, relationships, and repeatable habits. The foundations are solid, really solid. I guess the good analogy is it's a bit like planting a garden instead of buying cut flowers. One lasts a few days, the cut flowers, and the others in the garden keep growing if you look after it. And on top of a sustainable business, I wanted something peaceful, something that I could realistically maintain without burning myself out. I didn't want to spend 12-hour days online. I'm looking to spend 3, 4 hours on days online, on busy days, on perfect days, 2 hours. And the thing is, when I stripped things back, everything started improving again. And it wasn't overnight improvements, but it was steady improvements. I started focusing on fewer things. I stopped trying to keep up with everybody else. And I started creating content in a way that felt natural to me, which is really important because when it feels comfortable and natural to you, it's easy to do. It's enjoyable. You don't mind. And perhaps most importantly, I stopped treating every single day online like some sort of emergency because it isn't. I do believe beginners often believe successful people are doing hundreds of complicated things behind the scenes. And okay, some of the gurus that you have online that talk about all the different strategies, they have a whole team behind them that you don't see and you might not realize. But the reality is, many successful people are simply very consistent with a very few simple things. That's all. It's really true that consistency beats complexity most of the time. And simplicity is incredibly underrated online, especially now when everybody seems to be trying to do more and more content, more platforms, more automation. I mean, AI is everywhere and it's all adding to that noise. And meanwhile, most people are exhausted. What I've learned is this: if your business constantly feels too heavy to carry, eventually you'll stop carrying it. That's just human nature. You need a way of working that actually fits your real life, and especially in later life. I don't want to spend every waking hour online, and I don't want my entire day controlled by notifications, algorithm, and pressure. I could go to an office and have all of that. The commute, the 9 to 5 check-in, the commute home. I don't want that. I want flexibility and I want the breathing space. And I want to enjoy building something without feeling that I'm being consumed by it. And I think many people secretly want exactly the same thing. particularly people coming online in midlife or approaching retirement like me. You know, they're not looking to become social media celebrities. They just want something manageable. I mean, if they become a social media celebrity, oh, that's all great. But that is not what most people are looking for. They want something that's realistic, something that fits around the family, responsibilities, and everyday life. And that's why I now believe simplicity is one of the most valuable things you can protect online, especially in the beginning. Because beginners often move faster than they realize precisely because they haven't built layers of complexity yet. They haven't filled their heads with years of conflicting advice. And they're still willing to take action before overthinking kills the momentum. That's something very valuable right there in that early simplicity. If you've already gone down the rabbit hole like I did, you can absolutely come back from it. Strip things back, focus on what you can realistically maintain. Choose fewer things and do them properly. Start with one product, one platform, one simple process. And if you make it simple enough that showing up each day doesn't feel like climbing a mountain, that's where the real progress will usually live. Not in chasing every new strategy, but in building something you can actually stick with in the long term. And honestly, I think that's one of the biggest reasons I'm still here. Because eventually I stopped trying to build a business that looked impressive online and started building one that actually suited my life. It allowed me to take days off. It allowed me to go out and spend almost a whole month with my mum and take care of her. And I managed to do a few things online, not an awful lot, but it did give me that degree of flexibility that I didn't disappear. Can you imagine how many people would be able to go to their boss and say, I need to take a month offline because my mum hasn't got a carer? Not many companies would support you with that. And that really is why this online business is so attractive. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe and follow along with my journey online. And if you're curious about the program that I use, I've dropped the link in the description for you to take a look at in your own time. Anyway, thank you for listening, and I'll see you on the next one.